Imagine if you can.
Being violently forced from your home.
As was the case from ethnic clashes in Kenya.
With nowhere to go and little to no money on hand.
You seek shelter and safety in a forest along with hundreds of other families.
You're now a refugee in your own country, or more technically,
an internally displaced person or an IDP.
You're pretty much forgotten about.
Nearly 20 years later, that has finally changed for more than
800 IDP families who once lived
inside Kenya's Kieni forest.
They were living down there where the smoke is. We had a very big camp there.
I was staying in Kieni Forest after being evicted from Rift Valley during the 1992 crisis.
We were in the forest and it was very, very cold.
The camp itself was pretty Spartan, pretty dirty, unsanitary for sure.
There were so many problems there because we were staying in structures measuring 13 feet by 13 feet per family.
A tiny area in a bamboo shelter with a tarp that was designed to last for a few months, so that has lasted for years. The wind blowing through the bamboo, cold, smoky, and yet they kept hope year after year after year.
they were hopeful despite being some of the poorest of the poor in Kenya.
The economic conditions at Kieni were harsh.
You know, for the people in the camp, it was very difficult for them to support their families. There wasn't work nearby that they could do.
And while the government allowed them to stay inside the forest, it also prevented them from doing what they knew best, that being farming.
They could not plant any crop around there, but they could keep a few animals which were grazing in the forest, but they could not do anything else in that forest except maybe get firewood for their use and for sale.
Juu ya shida kwa vile hatukuwa na jambo lingine la kufanya.
Because we had no other thing to do.
Tuliishi kwa hizo nyumba.
We stayed inside that small house.
As bad as the economic conditions were, their living conditions were worse.
In addition, they had a lot of waterborne diseases, a lot of parasites and bacteria that they'd gotten from their contaminated water source.
We were using water from that water from the river.
Na maji ambayo yalikuwa machafu sana.
And the water was very dirty.
You know, to see a little kid walk down into a pool that had kind of a wide spot in a slow-moving stream, knowing that it's contaminated, and they're standing there in their muddy feet in this water, and they're filling up an empty container, dipping it into that dirty water, was hard. It was hard to see.
Over the years, Expansion International has helped provide clean water, food, medical attention, blankets, and Bibles for those in the forest.
We decided to go out of our way and start kind of advocating for them with the government.
So the people in the camp were referred to by the UN as a forgotten people. They were just kind of off the map from the government and no longer aware of their need. And
mpaka wakati tulikuja kutana na Expansion International.
Until when we had another well-wisher called Expansion International.
On 14th of September 2013, the government came on, decided to pay off the Kieni camp people to go and look for their land.
Kieni people, after they left the camp, moved into homes in the Rift Valley. Some of them even went to live with family in other regions of Kenya. But 200 families, over 1,000 people, have joined together to buy land in the communities of Sabukia and Bahati. These are mostly the older people from the camp, widows taking care of the orphan children of Kieni, and some of the young adults that have grown up in the Kieni camp. They had nowhere else to go, so they joined together to build a new community.
Although their surroundings have changed, their living conditions have not, at least not yet.
Still,
Up to now, we are living in the tents.
To have money to build some houses is the problem.
The government provided us with money, but still it was not enough because it could not be enough to buy land and also to build houses where we can live.
The homes are just tiny and very shabby and actually in worse condition than those, I think, in Kieni camp, the homes that they came from. Can you tell us how you feel now that you're out of the Kieni camp?
Very much relieved.
As you understand, these people have just been moved. They're on land. They have no source of food or economic income at this point, and so our plans are to help with the initial setup of that.
Expansion International would like to work with both Bahati and Sabukia communities and help them build their homes as well as put in their first crops.
Our efforts will be focused on 200 homes that we'll be constructing with an interlocking compressed brick form of housing. That's a standard form of housing there in Kenya.
And the home is about 620 square feet. It will have 3 rooms and a kitchen and then a toilet that is outside.
The Kieni people themselves will be very involved in the process of the construction of their homes.
Farms on their new land will keep them on their feet.
Once they get these in and they can sell those crops, they'll become self-sufficient.
You can get involved today. We have a tremendous financial need.
You can be part of this community. Cost per house is around $3,900. And when you multiply this by 200 homes, it becomes a large amount of resources to raise. The startup and equipment costs for this project are around $125,000. And to put in the first crops for the Kieni people is about $10,000. In total, the budget for this project is over $900,000. As we begin the building process, about a third of the budget has already been raised. We need your help to raise the remaining funds.
Money that will go quite far to help those who were once trapped in the forest to one day actually having their own home that they can call home.
It's not that they'll become wealthy, it's that they'll have enough.
Moto mayele asali fize alongi sidate Yesu elonga kumamalelo.